In the heart of the village of Skaldheim, the sounds of hammers and saws echoed as craftsmen worked to build a new Drakkar. Master Carpenter Einar, an elderly man with eyes shining with wisdom, stopped his work to announce, "This will be no ordinary ship. We need wood from the Tree of the Gods, for only it can withstand the storms and creatures that inhabit the sea." The news caused a stir. The Tree of the Gods was a legend. It was said to lie deep in the Furdur forest, protected by the Vetir, ancient spirits of nature. Few dared venture there, for the spirits were believed to prey on those with impure hearts. Bjorn, a young warrior known for his courage, and Astrid, a talented blacksmith who forged the finest blades in the village, volunteered for the mission. With bows, axes, and protective runes in hand, they set out at dawn. As they entered the forest, the atmosphere changed. The trees were tall and ancient, and a thick fog made it difficult to see their way. They walked in silence, feeling the unseen eyes of the Vetir watching them. Suddenly the forest came to life. Small lights began to float around them, and unintelligible whispers filled the air. The Vetir were there. "We are not here to steal or destroy," Bjorn said, raising his axe. "We need the wood to protect our people." A larger, brighter light appeared, taking the form of a translucent human figure. It was one of the oldest Vetir. His voice was both calm and powerful. "Only those of pure intentions may take the wood from the Tree of the Gods. You must prove your worthiness." The Vetir created a test. Bjorn and Astrid faced terrifying illusions. Bjorn saw his village in flames, while Astrid was confronted with the vision of her family crying out for help. With courage and faith in themselves, they both resisted temptation and faced their fears. Impressed, the Vetir led the two to the Tree of the Gods. It was majestic, with a wide trunk and roots that seemed to stretch to the center of the earth. After cutting only what was necessary, Bjorn and Astrid thanked the spirits and promised to protect the forest. When they returned to the village with the sacred wood, Einar smiled with satisfaction. The Drakkar would begin to take shape, and the promise of conquest and protection was closer. But deep in the forest, the Vetir watched the group leave. One of them murmured to the others, "They have proven their purity. May Njord be with them, for their journey has only just begun." Thus, the first episode ends with hope and a touch of mystery about what the future holds for the eternal storm. The return of Bjorn and Astrid with the wood of the Tree of the Gods brought a mixture of relief and expectation to the village of Skaldheim. The wood was of stunning quality, with a subtle golden glow as if it carried the essence of the sun. Master Carpenter Einar immediately set to work building the Drakkar, which he named Eternal Storm, a tribute to the untamed waters the Vikings had braved. The villagers gathered around the shipyard, watching each step of the construction. The wood was carefully shaped, while Einar murmured ancient chants calling upon Njord, the god of the sea, to bless the ship. Astrid had a special mission, to forge the hardware that would hold each piece of the Drakkar together. Using the hammer of her father, a legendary blacksmith, she worked day and night, carving runes of protection and strength into each piece. "Every blow of the hammer carries our history and our hope," Astrid said. "This ship is not just wood and iron, it is a part of us." Meanwhile, Bjorn trained the crew. He knew that the ship, however strong, would need fearless men and women to face the dangers of the sea. They trained with axes, shields, and even oars, for a fast Drakkar depended as much on the skill of its oarsmen as on the strength of its builders. But one night something strange happened. An unexpected storm hit the village. Howling winds and thunder seemed to be directed at the shipyard. When Bjorn and Astrid ran to protect the eternal storm, they found Einar standing before the ship, his arms raised. "Njord is testing us," the old carpenter shouted. Lightning flashed across the sky as the storm seemed to grow more furious. The wood of the Drakkar began to glow, as if absorbing the energy of the storm. Bjorn realized that the ship was not being destroyed, but blessed. "She will be as strong as thunder and as swift as the wind," Einar murmured, tears in his eyes. The next morning, the village awoke to the silence after the storm. The eternal storm was intact, more beautiful and imposing than ever. The runes engraved by Astrid now glowed faintly, as if they had been activated by the storm. However, the calm was short-lived. A Völva, a seer of great renown, arrived in the village. With her hoarse voice and dark eyes, she brought a message that silenced everyone. The Eternal Storm will be the most powerful ship that has ever sailed the seas, but she will face challenges that no man or god has ever imagined. She cast a long look at Bjorn and Astrid, as if she saw them in the distant future. This Drakkar will be tested against the greatest enemy the sea has ever known. Prepare yourselves. The episode ends with the ship complete, a symbol of hope, but also a portent of battles that would test not only its strength, but the courage of all who sailed aboard. With the Eternal Storm ready, the day of its maiden voyage finally arrived. The village of Skaldheim was in celebration. Men, women, and children gathered at the harbour to watch the Drakkar's blessing before its first journey. Bjorn, leading the crew, was dressed in warrior's garb, his family's ancestral axe at his waist. Astrid, at his side, carried a sword she had forged especially for the voyage, engraved with runes of courage. The Völva, who had prophesied the ship's trials, performed the ritual of departure. She sprinkled sacrificial blood on the hull and chanted words in an ancient language. When he had finished, he looked to Bjorn and Astrid with a final warning. The sea is as old as time itself. It holds secrets and horrors that not even the gods dare face. If you encounter the guardians of the deep, remember, show no weakness. With these words echoing in their minds, the crew set off. The Eternal Storm cut through the waves as if it were part of the ocean itself. The speed and stability of the Drakkar were impressive, and the crew soon began to sing Viking chants, celebrating the beginning of their journey. But as they sailed deeper into the open sea, the atmosphere changed. The waters became darker and heavier, and the sky, which had been clear before, took on a greyish hue. On the third night, while everyone was resting, Astrid, who was on watch, heard a strange sound coming from the depths. It was a melancholy chant, like a mix of human voices and the roar of the wind. "Bjorn, come here," she called. Bjorn ran to the bow where Astrid was pointing out into the water. At first it looked like a reflection, but then something began to appear. Translucent shapes like human figures bathed in a blue light began to emerge from the water. They were the guardians of the deep. "That's them," Astrid whispered. The creatures were beautiful and terrifying at the same time. Their eyes shone like stars, but their bodies seemed made of water and steam. Their leader, larger and more imposing, spoke in a voice that echoed off the hull of the Drakkar. "You dare cross our waters without offerings?" Bjorn, trying to remain calm, replied, "We mean you no disrespect, guardians. We are travelers in search of new lands, guided by the gods." The guardian laughed, a sound that sounded like waves crashing against rocks. "The gods do not protect here. This is the realm of the deep. If you wish passage, you must prove your strength and courage." Suddenly, the creatures disappeared, and the sea began to churn violently. From the depths, a huge leviathan emerged, a sea serpent with black scales and eyes as red as embers. The crew panicked, but Bjorn shouted, "Row! Stay the course!" As the Drakkar fought the raging waves, Astrid used her sword to repel the creature's tentacles as they tried to reach the ship. Bjorn led a direct attack, throwing a spear at the leviathan's eye, wounding it. The battle was fierce, but finally, with a roar that echoed for miles, the leviathan plunged back into the depths, defeated. The sea calmed, and the figures of the guardians reappeared. "You have proven yourselves worthy," said the leader of the guardians. "Go on, but remember, the sea always takes its toll." Exhausted but victorious, Bjorn and his crew continued their journey. On the horizon, a new land began to appear, promising even greater glories and challenges. The episode ends with the Eternal Storm sailing into the unknown, while the guardians of the deep disappear beneath the waves, silently watching the fate that awaits them. After weeks of sailing, the Eternal Storm finally came into sight of a coastline that looked like something out of a skald's tale. Towering mountains reached the sky, and vast forests stretched as far as the eye could see. But something was strange. The silence was oppressive, as if the land were waiting for something or someone. Bjorn and his crew disembarked, stepping onto unfamiliar ground. The sand was cold, and the trees were so tall they blocked out the sun. Astrid looked around and sensed a presence. "Something is watching us," she whispered, gripping her sword tightly. As they made their way through the forest, they found signs of an ancient civilization. giant stones carved with runes that none of them recognized, and trails that looked as if they had been made by feet vastly larger than those of a human being. "This place is like no other we've seen," Bjorn said, with a mixture of wonder and caution. As they explored, a deep, rumbling sound echoed through the forest like the roar of thunder. From the top of a hill, a colossal figure appeared, a giant of unimaginable proportions. His skin was like stone, his eyes glowed like embers, and in his hand he carried a huge hammer that made the ground tremble with every movement. "You dare invade the land of the Jötnar?" The giant's voice was so powerful that it seemed to shake the air around him. Bjorn stepped forward, trying to appear brave in front of the immense creature. "We do not come as invaders. We are explorers, seeking lands and challenges that will make us worthy of the stories of the gods." The giant laughed, a sound that seemed to echo among the mountains. "Worthy of the gods? Then prove it, for I am Hrungnir, the last guardian of this land. If you wish to leave here with your lives, you must face the test of the Jötnar." Hrungnir extended his hand, and like magic, the surrounding environment changed. Bjorn, Astrid, and their crew now found themselves in a circular arena, surrounded by a shimmering mist. In the center, a beastly creature appeared, a gigantic wolf with red eyes, sharp claws, and fangs that gleamed in the light of the mist. "Defeat the guardian of this arena, and perhaps I will allow you to live," said Hrungnir, disappearing into the mist. The battle was fierce. The wolf attacked with incredible speed and strength, but the eternal storm was not manned by cowards. Astrid led the archers, shooting arrows into the creature's paws to slow its movements, while Bjorn confronted the monster head-on, using his axe to dodge its attacks and deliver precise blows. After a brutal fight, Astrid managed to shoot an arrow directly into the wolf's eye, leaving it vulnerable. Bjorn seized the moment and with a powerful blow plunged his axe into the creature's throat, felling it. The mist disappeared, and Hrungnir reappeared, watching them with a look of surprise and respect. "You have proven your strength and courage. But remember, true greatness lies not in battle alone, but in how you wield the power you have gained." He raised his hammer, and a wave of energy engulfed the group. Before they knew it, they were back on shore, alongside the eternal storm. But something had changed. The ship seemed more robust, its runes glowing brightly, as if the strength of the Jötnar now flowed through it. With the crew back on board, Bjorn looked out over the horizon. "This is only the beginning. The eternal storm is not just a ship, it is our legend." The episode ends with the Drakkar sailing into the unknown, the echoes of the giants still echoing in the mountains, and the fate of the Vikings intertwined with the forces of gods and legend.